Whoa, I need some tips about running in the heat. Wheels totally fell off that bad boy. Had to walk off of it. And then got so hot, I took my top off and stuffed it in one of the hedges. And then couldn't find the damn thing. Spent the last 10 minutes going up and down the hedgerows trying to find it. Oh, I hope it's not gonna be one of those days. Excited though. We're announcing this week's Cool Conversations guest. Somebody I've got to know really well over the last 18 months or so. Somebody I think is so honest and true to his integrity and his morals and his values. So excited to have him on the show tonight, tomorrow night. The sun's got to me. Right, it's too much. I need to get a drink. Oh. Pretty grim weather out there. Don't know if you can see it, it's absolutely hurling it down. So I've entertained myself on the ergo, the kettlebells, and the TRX there. And I'm giving this bad boy a whirl, the Garmin still. Yeah, the more time I spend with this, the more amazing features it's got. That, this blows my mind, that front fascia, it's a solar powered screen. It charges it while you work out with it. It's incredible, pretty incredible. But that workout was pretty evil. I can download some stats from the watch now, see how I fared, but hard work. And for those of you who say you should be out running in that weather, well, my comeback is I've seen bad weather all over the world. I don't need to see more bad weather at home. Anyway, we're getting it done today. I hope you are too. Wow, we got the Get It Done t-shirt back out. Just slightly grey, damp morning, but enthusiasm is high. Woo. Yeah, I really enjoyed the run this morning. About another 10k in the bag, we got it done. I go home, nice cup of coffee, and we're den building today. I wanted it myself, got to finish off the den in the cops. Been working on it for a few days now. But we're nearly there. Nearly at the end of the run. So what are you doing this weekend? What's going down? We'd love to hear from you. Let me know what adventures you guys are on. And remember, if in doubt, get it done. Woo! Here we are with Scott at Far Peak. We've just been for a run. Scott, how was it?
Absolutely amazing. Bit of nav on the way as well.
Yeah, got completely lost. Rather embarrassing. Scott's come across from Wales for a weekend. Decided to get a mountain guide to show him the routes.
Big mistake.
You did all navigation. But we got what? 11.5?
11.5k. Yeah.
Good fun. Just had a coffee here at Far Peak. It's open for business. The campsite is pretty good. So well done you, Tom, at Far Peak. Beautiful to meet you, my fella.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And next time.
Yeah, definitely. Hit me up.
Have fun. It's what day is it? Thursday? No, Saturday.
Sunday.
Yeah,
Sunday.
Totally over it. Oh well, I've got to leave now before you embarrass yourself. Good job. Nice to meet you. Welcome back to Cool Conversations, everyone. So excited about this week's guest. Now, I first met this guest really early in his climbing career, and we were going around the Swiss Alps together, climbing some mountains. And I had never really come across somebody who had quite the amount of charisma that our guest this week does. He had the ability to walk into a Swiss mountain hut, and within about 10 minutes, everybody knew his name. He was back in the kitchen helping, washing up, doing the cooking. He's quite phenomenal. He's got a magnetic personality. But more than that, his story, his journey is quite remarkable. He grew up in a refugee camp in Jordan, came across to the UK, ended up running a 5-star hotel in Scotland. And then, in his own words, through divine intervention, he then embarked on becoming only the 15th man or 15th person to complete the Adventurers Explorers Grand Slam. That's all of the highest peaks on the 7 continents and the North Pole, South Pole. Since then, he's gone on to mentor many, many people in the mountains. He currently lives in Dublin. I am very proud and privileged to say that Mostafa Salameh is a good friend of mine, and we have him here today on the show. Mostafa, how are you, my friend?
Very good. Thank you very much for the lovely introduction. And you brought me back to June or July 2004, I remember.
Was it 4 or 5? I was trying to remember earlier. Was it 4 or 5? Was it 4?
2004, yeah. Wow. July 2004. And it was Alex. I think it's a French friend of yours.
That was it. Alex Deveau.
And I've learned so much from you, my friend. I've learned so much from you through my career. And I definitely give a great credit for your advice and instruction into my career. So, so thank you.
No, hey, we've got so much to talk about, so much to catch up on. I don't quite know where to begin. So let's start with today. I know, because we were talking only a few days ago, you're just back from Iceland. Now, that must be one of the first trips, if not the first trip since lockdown. Just tell us a little bit about what you were doing over there and who you were with, and because we all love Iceland. So,
I mean, Iceland was magic. I mean, I've never really, I've been everywhere, and this trip was really just one of the most exotic place I ever been. I was with 2 Italian photographer and some other people who were with me, and we did a lovely trek, like a 10-day trek. The weather was raining and windy and whatever, but just the whole experiencing the construct of being on a place like Iceland with its volcanoes, and the most amazing thing was that black beach with its black sand and glaciers, and everything was just perfect. I mean, every morning to wake up and see the rainbow, I've never seen that in my life apart from Iceland. So yeah, and you know what? It was really nice because we were stuck with the COVID-19 and you're not going anywhere. And was really a great push and motivation just to go there and come back and face the kids and try to stay sane. So.
But you've got 2 children, isn't it?
I have 4 boys.
Oh, you got 4 boys. Oh, I thought it was 2 boys. No wonder you were so keen to get away to Iceland.
Yeah.
And I mean, we got to speak about it because you're now based in Dublin. Yeah. How have things been over the last 5-6 months? Because I know, like me, you were supposed to be out in the Himalayas running trips and doing your own thing, and then everything just changed almost overnight. So to be in lockdown with 4 children, that must have been pretty tricky.
You know what? I mean, I've seen the really good side of COVID-19 and what happened. Yes, work did affect, but I would say I spend the best time with my kids that I didn't have the chance to spend this time.
Absolutely.
I was here for their birthday for the first time in 4 years, because
Wow.
every April and May I'm in the Himalayas, and July I'm in Africa. So it was lovely to spend their birthdays. We did lots of hiking, trekking. We crossed the island for 2.5 weeks. So we went off and did some camping and glamping. And so I would really see the best things on what happened. I finished my second children book, so which is going to be published soon. So, I think it was a good things for me. And I would definitely always put that positive vibe from COVID-19.
But that is you. I mean, I remember from sharing various base camps and times in Switzerland, you are one of the world's most positive people. I said in the intro, you have ability to bounce into a hut and get the hut rocking in a few hours, and then the hut warden is almost in tears when you leave. You have this charisma about you that always finds the positives, which is one of the reasons.
I think we always have to find the positive things in life, because there is no point looking at all the negative side, because I always think that the last result is exactly the same. So why we're not enjoying that little journey, so we can come into it and then we can deal with everything. I mean, I grew up with 10 brother and sister in a small little flat. So, I always thought, and this is what my mom and dad taught us, that, we always lucky to have this little roof. And yes, we used to live in a bunk bed, 9 of us in one room, but we had that roof above us. We used to eat whatever we eat. So I think we should appreciate every little things in life.
No, and you are 100% right. And I wonder, so I want to take you back a little bit. You alluded to it there. I didn't know this until your book came out, Dreams of a Refugee, which was published about 4 years ago now. So I didn't actually realize your backstory until your book came out. Just tell us a little bit about that journey, growing up in essentially a refugee camp. You've already said you had 10 brothers and sisters, obviously a mother and father, so it's 13 of you in like I heard you references once a 3-room apartment or
2-bedroom flat.
So just tell us a little bit about how that experience has influenced who you are today.
Sure. I mean, I'm always going to be proud of where I came from, of course, as in this little refugee camp, which my mom and dad have to leave to come. And we were growing up there. We were growing up in another, as a refugee in Kuwait. My dad was a lorry driver. My mom looked after all of us. And as I said, we have this 2-bedroom flat. My mom and dad, 9 of us in a bunk bed. And we have a little living room where my mom used to do all the cooking in that room. And I always remember each one of us in one of the corner of the room doing their homework. And my mom always have these shoes around her, and if anybody did anything, she would take that shoes and just throw it in them. So we know the message from mom. So I grew up in that, and the most important things for us, they always say that education, that is the most important. But when I was 18, the war happened in Iraq and Kuwait, and I have to leave. I finished high school. I started working as a waiter. And by chance, I was serving a table, and this guy told me, "Do you want to go to London?" I said, "Yes." He said, "My brother is the Jordanian ambassador in London, and he wants somebody to work as a butler in his house." So I moved from this little flat to this massive, beautiful house in Salona Square in England. And I stayed for a year. I couldn't pursue the dream that I want to study, so I left the ambassador and I worked in the kitchen for 5 years to wash dishes, to learn English. And after 7 years, I saved enough money to help my family. And I went up to Scotland to Queen Margaret University after I watched Braveheart, because I thought that's where my freedom is. And then
After you watch Braveheart, of all the films to watch to get you to Scotland.
And I joined Queen Margaret University. I studied for 4 years, and then I joined the Sheraton then, and I became the director of food and beverage manager there. And my dream is to become a general manager for a 5-star hotel so I can travel. But in January 2004, I woke up from a dream. I saw myself in the top of a mountain, praying for peace. And I wake up, I told my friend, everyone thought I was on something. I said I wasn't that night. And then that's where my mountaineering journey started. So I've never climbed a mountain. I've never slept in a sleeping bag. I've never even been to Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh. So that was the start of my whole mountaineering journey.
So
in 2004.
just taking a step back, so you were 18, having grown up in a refugee camp for all essential purposes, and then you moved to London. That must have been a huge culture shock.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was. I had no language. I didn't speak any English. So every Sunday, I used to have a day off, and I used to go to what do you call the corner? Speech corner, Hyde Park corner.
Speaker's Corner.
Speaker corner. And this was the biggest things for me, because I was listening to all these speakers talking about everything without any restrictions. So for me, it was wow. So every Sunday, that's the only things I did. The ambassador will give me £10, and then I will go to Hyde Park Corner. I spend the whole day listening to all these speakers and then go back. So yes, definitely. But I mean, was something I really wanted. I wanted to come out and go and help my family and save enough money to go to university, which I managed to do.
And your parents, so they had come across. I'm probably going to get this wrong. So jump in okay. As and when you need to. So they were refugees from Palestine.
Yeah.
And then they come through Jordan, and you kind of grew up in
Jordan and then Kuwait. So they moved to Kuwait as well.
Yeah, because you're fiercely patriotic about Jordan, aren't you? I mean, I remember when we first met, I was somewhat confused because you know, half your heart seems to be firmly rooted in Scotland, and the other part of your heart seems to be firmly rooted in Jordan. And I couldn't, back in 2004, I was struggling trying to work out exactly who this person Mostafa was and the journey and the backstory. And I suppose you had quite a transient life growing up, perhaps without any anchors. So,
totally.
So the links to Jordan come from your parents and that period of time that you were in a refugee camp there.
Absolutely. And I become Jordanian because this is where I hold the passport of Jordan, but I've never seen Palestine. My mom and dad moved from Palestine as a refugee. They were forced to leave it to come to Jordan. So it was a safe haven for them. And, talking about, definitely I'm proud to be Jordanian. I'm proud to be having a Palestinian blood in my vein. And I'm proud to be British and precisely Scottish. That's why I take the Scottish flag with me. And I think Scotland has given me that nobody ever gave me. And in my heart, I feel Scottish. And I do have a kilt. And I wear my kilt also.
I saw a picture. You wore your kilt on, was it the South Pole?
South Pole, yeah.
Trip? I don't know if you wore it all the time, but you certainly wore it some of the time.
Just there for 5 minutes so I can take the photos.
It's a little bit chilly. It must be said. So now, I mean, I've got to say, I have met your parents. I don't know if you remember this, but back in, I think it was 2007, 7 or 8, maybe. I went to Jordan.
It was 8. It was 8.
2008, I went to Jordan. And I don't know if your mother ever told you this, but I got so excited. I made so many faux pas because we turned up late. And then we got stuck in traffic. And we got to the a very modest, I mean, beautiful, but very modest apartment in Amman, in Jordan. And the whole extended family seemed to be there. There was a lot of people waiting for us, and we were going for dinner. And I burst into the room and started to greet everybody. And then Jazz was looking at me. In fact, everybody was looking at me. And of course, I had completely forgotten to take my shoes off because I was so excited about meeting everybody. Because I think you were in Scotland. So that was the first error of my ways. So I rather sheepishly went back to the door and took my shoes off. And then we sat down and had this wonderful dinner. And of course, British etiquette, Western etiquette, is that you clear your plate. So I kept clearing my plate, and your mother would come out with more delicious food and just pile it on my plate. And after about a third helping, I'm lying or sat on the... I said to Jazz, I can't eat anymore. And she said, you don't get it, do you? Leave something on your plate.
Yes.
But my overriding sense of meeting your parents that evening was one of utter pride. They were so proud of your achievements. It was incredible. I mean, it's such a shame you weren't there because the whole conversation was about you and all your achievements. So I remember that day or that evening for a long, long time.
Well, my mom thought you were skinny, you and Jazz, so she's trying to feed you guys.
Right, she fed us very well. And of course, I don't really drink it, but because we were guests, there was a big thing of Coke. Of course, I was drinking the Coke, and I was finishing the Coke, and that was filled up, and then I'd get bloated, and it'd be more Coke, more chicken, more salad, more potato. It was, I didn't feel very well at the end of it, but amazing hospitality, absolutely amazing hospitality.
Well, you'll come next time. You'll come with the kids, and I'll be there hopefully.
So I was really interested by this. So you find it, and we'll go back. We'll jump around a little bit today, but. You finally summited Everest May 25th, 2008.
Yeah, you were there with Ronald Fiennes.
Was that one of the round finds? Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, no, it would have been. I think we summited a little.
Because I remember he was coming down from South Col because he didn't make it. I was going up from Camp 3, going to Camp 4. And then I remember telling him congratulations, and he said the pastor turned me back.
Okay. Yeah, because he summited the following year.
2009 he summited.
2009, yeah. So you summited on Royal Jordanian Day or the Jordanian National Day.
Yes. Jordan Independence.
And then I'm so interested in this. You got home, and 2008 you were knighted by the King of Jordan. So does that technically make you Sir Mostafa? How does that work in Jordan?
Maybe you can call me Your Excellency.
Yes.
I mean, it's a great honor for His Majesty to give me also the Independence Medal because I did it in Independence Day. So it was a big thing for me, and it's always an honor that this is being given to certain people who achieve something big for the country. And I mean, King of Jordan, he was my biggest ever supporter. I mean, he's the one who supported me most of the way, and because he wanted Jordan to be and Arabs to be an adventure map, and I got a great support from Jordan, Jordanian government, Jordanian company, but in the top of it, it was definitely King Abdullah and his brother Prince Ali. So, doing the 7th summit and stuff, it was all even to go to the polar adventure because I've never skied in my whole life before I went to the North Pole. So I had to go and learn how to ski in France for a month. So I can go and ski the North Pole and the South Pole. This was also a support. And I remember His Majesty saying, I would love to do what you do, but I can't. So, I think we should support you doing that. So,
and just tell us a little bit how that works. So there you are, a small boy growing up in a refugee camp. I suspect that the education would have been rather rudimentary.
Yeah.
You then come across and you start working in the catering and then the hospitality and then hotels in the UK. And then you mentioned you had like a divine calling, for want of a better word. I kind of get all that, but how do you go from that little boy growing up in a refugee camp to having the ear of the king of Jordan? That, if you take all the mountaineering out the equation, that is a fairy tale story right there. I mean, how did you get to become essentially a confidant of the king?
I think it's, it's the achievement that I brought to the country and to the Arab world. And it's not just, I mean, I remember in 2000, when I started in 2004, I mean, climbing and hiking and trekking, it wasn't actually existed in the Middle East. So it was really, we didn't know much about it because we thought this is for this maniac, the Western world, who's doing the stuff and go to these mountains and stuff. And, I mean, when I had the dream, I had to Google what's the highest point in the world because,
really?
in the honest truth, I had no idea Everest, how high is Everest and stuff, because I don't know anything. I mean, I was working so much in the Sheraton because I wanted to achieve my dream. I was working 14 hours. My only form of training is actually clubbing, is to go clubbing, dance all night, and then try to recover the next day. And then the day after, have a curry and go to work. But that was my whole thing. So, and I remember the first time when I told the Scotsman, the chief editor who used to come to the Sheraton and have some food. And I told him, listen, I had a dream. Would you run a story? Because I would like to try to get it to Jordan and get the attention of the king. And he sent this photographer with me, Stephen, to Arthur's Seat. And Stephen asked me, he said, are you the guys who climb in Everest? I said, yes. He said, you can't even walk to go up there. I said, well, I'm going to train. And he took me up to climb some sort of like little rock. And I said, listen, I can't climb. So he had to lie down in the floor to take the photo. And it looked really amazing because the next day in the newspaper, all my friends think, how did you climb this? I said, well, I didn't climb it. But I think I had this belief on me that I really wanted to do this dream that I had. It wasn't just about mountaineering. It's not just about climbing. It was more, and I discovered this, I think, more into my journey. And it started becoming a passion, and it started becoming something that I do to bring something to the Middle East, from fundraising to inspire the next generation to take outdoor education studies to become something very important, because we do have lots of stuff in the Middle East that with adventure tourism that is there, but we never really seen it in that way.
Well, I mean, you got a fantastic resource in the Wadi Rum. The area, I mean, some fantastic rock climbing there. I mean, it's pretty hot, but you got the hiking, got the Bedouin. And interesting enough, Jordan is now going through the IFMGA certification process. It's being sponsored by France. A good friend of mine is going across. He helped build the
Jordan Trail.
Yeah, the program to train up sort of Jordanian mountain guides. Mm-hmm. So there certainly seems to be an enthusiasm and an energy about adventure travel, climbing in Jordan now. And I think part of that has to be down to your own achievements.
I think there is part of it. I think since they start teaching my story in the curriculum of the school, in the
whoa, back up. Sorry, Mostafa, back up.
What?
They teach your story in school curriculum.
Yes, they do.
What an accolade that is.
That's amazing. I mean, that make me happy to, because the 4th grade, 8th grade, and high school as well, in English high school, they do the story. So
and they learn about your own story from the refugee camp right through to where you are now.
Yeah, the whole thing. So
wow.
So, and that's what really
that's incredible.
Yeah, and that's what motivated me to write children's story, and that's why in November last year we published the first children's story about Everest. So there is 7 story will come out. The next one will come in November about Kilimanjaro. So the first one about Everest, and what we do is we talk about very important 5 things. We talk about mountaineering and hiking, how to achieve your dream. We talk about religion like Buddhism and Hinduism and Nepal, and try to open this generation mind in a different aspect of life and religion. We talk about culture. We talk about, like, a greeting like namaste, what namaste mean. And each story will have food, the main dish in Nepal, which is like, I put momos, and we put the how to make momos. We talk about the Sherpa and how important, and without the Sherpa there is no way I would be able to climb Everest, and most of the people who climbed Everest. And then Kilimanjaro will come soon. We talk about the kingdom of the animal. We talk about Messiah. So each story have something, and it's for 9 to 13 years old. And the first story was written in Arabic and being translated to English, and it's really doing well. And we're gonna have there is a character that I created called Halawe, and Halawe it means sweet. And Halawe, it's when I was at the refugee camp, I used to sell Halawe when I was 8 years old, and we call Halawe, and Halawe is the Arab mentality or the Arab culture, and we're trying to get it a little bit more open-minded for the kids to look at things a little bit differently, especially religion and culture. So that's been great, and there is a French company who's going to turn it to illustration. So what do you call it, like in a TV?
A cartoon.
Yeah, a cartoon. So that's going to be a cartoon, Mostafa and Halawe, and the journey will start from Everest, and then we're going to end up the journey in Antarctica with a polar bear and a penguin. So that's the idea.
Wow, epic. Oh, that sounds amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, it just, you're always one of these people, and I think it is your personality that shines through. Because I remember back to 2005, excuse me, and I say I couldn't quite get my head around, why you were kind of there in the mountains. You openly admitted that you hadn't really done any mountaineering before, and we were on this quite a big tour. I think you probably remember we went down to the Concordia Heart, behind the Grindelwald, behind the Eiger, and then over to the Finsterhorn Heart. And I remember we were coming back over the coal between the Gross and Klein Fischerhorn, I think they are, to get back to the train to come back down. And we climbed the Klein Fischerhorn, and you said, right, I've got to get a little video footage for His Majesty. And I got the flag out. You had the Jordanian flag with you, and we were stood chatting like we are now. And then as soon as I said the camera was rolling, you slumped to your knees, started gasping for air, like this. And Your Majesty, your loyal sort of subject, Mostafa, I have claimed this mountain. And it went on and on and on. You've always been so good at making people just be part of what you do. And by the sound of it, the books and the curriculum, it's just an extension of that amazing aura that you have around you. There's this aura that you want people to be part of it, whatever it is, which I think is
helping. I think it's mainly helping other people in my journey. I mean, since 2013 to today, I fundraised $5.3 million for cancer, for refugees. With initiative I started in 2013 by chance. I was in this cancer hospital. I was doing a talk for these kids, and the nurse came to me and she said, can you go to this room, because this girl who's 11 years old have a very low immune system. So I went there with my laptop. I showed her like Everest climbing, getting in the top. And she asked me 3 questions I will never forget. She said, "How long did it take you to climb Everest?" And I said, it was about 70 days when we were there, because the Chinese were taking the Olympic torch and we were delayed in 2008. And she said, how long did you stay in the summit? And me and Lakpa stayed in the summit for 45 minutes because nobody were there. We were there at 6:50 a.m. and nobody were there. And she said, "What do you use?" I said, "Rope, harness, whatever." And she said, "I've been climbing my own Everest in the past 2 years, and I always stand in the top of my pain more than 45 minutes every day." And
Wow.
and this is really just affected me. And I thought everything I did absolutely mean nothing to compare to what she told me. And she said, "What's the name of your, what do you do?" I said, "From the lowest point, I always start from the Dead Sea, which is the lowest point, and I go to the highest point of each of the continent." And she said, "Why do you not do it for cancer?" And I said, "Yes, I will." And I started this straight away, called From the Lowest to the Highest for Cancer. And I invited these celebrities and crown and royal highnesses. And in 2 years exactly, I took people to every space camp and Kilimanjaro, and we got $2.3 million for cancer, which was my biggest achievement. And then I thought, you know what? I'm not just going to climb for nothing. I have to climb for cause. And so every time I go anywhere, I'll do it for cause. And I took this guy in a wheelchair in the top of Kilimanjaro, and we fundraised about $180,000. I took a blind guy. Mm-hmm. I took another people to Peru and Bolivia, and we did it got lots of money. So $5.3 million. This is my achievement, that I can help other people, from refugee to the cancer patient. And that gave me really the sense of achievement. Is not just taking the flag in the top and stuff, because even doing Everest, I will definitely give the best credit to the Sherpa, to Lakpa, Cherry, who helped me to put me in the top, because without him there is no way I could stand in the top. So, and to all other mountain guides who helped me, somebody like Hughes, Vern, David Hone, all these people who gave me little by little, and I've learned from these people to be able to get to where I am. And this is where I am now, is to try to help. And that's why my books is important for me. And I think Dreams, a Refugee came to tell the story, not just about mountaineering, because I'm not, I wasn't born to climb Everest. I didn't know Everest exists or Seven Summit exists. But I did it because I think I have in my heart, I believe that nothing is impossible, and all of us have an Everest in our life. And I think my Everest is to help other people because of how I came up to be who I am, and appreciate as well the people who get me there. And I think Scotland was one of this beautiful. And that's why I feel Scottish.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, that's a super profound story. I mean, the little girl saying that her Everest, at the summit with the pain lasts longer than 45 minutes. I mean, God, that's heart-wrenching. Even to listen to it sort of secondhand through you. But I have to applaud you, Mostafa, for that amount of work. So I was curious, I mean, how often do you get to go back to Jordan these days?
I mean, I normally go back to Jordan every 3 months. I have talk for schools. I work with USAID, so we do some stuff as well for refugees. I do some stuff in refugee camps in Beirut, Lebanon, that I go there. But because of COVID-19, I wasn't be able to go, but my plan is to go on the 10th of September to see my mom and dad, and I have some work to do there for schools. So hopefully I'll be able to make it before I go to the Himalayas on the 15th of October. So I really, really hope that we'll be able to make it.
And then, do you still have links with Kuwait? or was that like a transient part of your life?
I think, Kuwait, I think Kuwait was a big part of my life as well. I mean, I've been twice. I've been back twice since we left in 1989 when the war happened. But yeah, not as much as Jordan. I mean, Jordan, most of my work will come from Jordan, but I guess most of my client will come from the Middle East. So you'll have some Kuwaiti, you'll have some all other people that come from the Arab world.
Wow. And I can't help but think what you said earlier, how Scotland was one of the first places to welcome you in. And you were saying about how Iceland, it was rain and it was grey and then rainbows. And I couldn't help but think every time I go to Scotland, it sounds a bit like Iceland. It's rain, it's grey. But it is an outstandingly beautiful place. What prompted the move? Because we kind of lost contact a little bit, probably 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. But you're now in Dublin. So what's brought you to Dublin?
So when Chrissy, when I got married, then we came to Ireland because she teach German and French here.
Okay.
So this was the move. I was in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And then, and because her job was here and my job was traveling and leading expedition and stuff. So we moved here. And in the beginning, I didn't like it at all. But it took a little, maybe 2 years to start liking it and to understand what people are saying because it's too fast. But then and then I loved it. And I think, I mean, Ireland is lovely because we have the coast here is not too far. You could just cycle to the sea and you can do some sea swimming. Wicklow Mountains is not too far. You could go and do some, I'll say, trekking and hiking. And so it's a lovely country, and it's not far from Edinburgh. It's an hour flight, or you could
it's a short haul
and do some. Yeah, so it's lovely. And I mean, it's not, if you look to the UK, England, Ireland, Northern Ireland, Wales, it's all the same for me. I see it all the same. But Scotland will always come in the top.
Yeah, I mean, it is so nice to hear you speak like that, because you speak so fondly of the UK, yet you can speak so fondly of Jordan as well. I mean, you're so passionate in your words and your patriotism for both countries. And yeah, I do wonder sometimes whether it comes from, since learning from your book that you were a refugee, I wonder if it is that sense of belonging which maybe you didn't have when you were younger. The sense of displacement, and then you almost cling on to places. Because obviously you got your amazing family, and they are amazing. But in terms of where you root yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I mean, you travel through the world. I mean, we all a refugee in the end of the day anyway, every time you go anywhere. And, I love Nepal. When I go to Nepal and I go in, and I just loved it because my friends are there. And I love the country. I love the people. I love everything they do. But, I'm definitely, I have this pride of Jordan, taking the Jordanian flag. Palestine, as my mom and dad are from, it's a very important to me as well. And then being a British is also very important to me, very proud to be British. And, having Scotland as in my heart as home, this is also important. But this is all go because I lived in England for many years. I started in Solana Square to Richmond to Isleworth, going up to Luton, and I kept going north. And I think this is where my dream came in Scotland, because it was like, okay, where is no how higher I'm gonna go. So yeah, and I think it is sense of belonging. You're right. It is something that I'm comfortable and I'm happy and I'm safe. And my kids, they speak, they're Irish because, their accents and stuff, they speak German and Irish. Their mom is half German, so at home they speak German, they're Irish. And I always ask them, if you become if you want to become an athlete and stuff for football, or who are you going to play for? Ireland. So they all going to play for Ireland anyway. I tried to convince them to play for Scotland, though.
But they weren't having it. So I remember coming across to Jordan, and we were off to see your mother, and we stopped off, and I'm going to get the names wrong, Mostafa, I'm sorry. We stopped off and we bought some baklava,
Yes.
baklava, which is the traditional Jordanian sweet.
Yes.
Which are, some of them are delicious, some of them are very, very sweet.
High in calories, yeah.
Yeah, quite sticky, some of them. I read somewhere that you used to sell sweets in the refugee camp, which would be made by your mother. Would this have been the same style of sweet?
No, I would say different. The one my mother said is very simple. It's just the one. Let's see. I think it's like a biscuit sweet. Like it's not as the one you have with nuts and.
Yeah, they're quite ornate, aren't they? They're sort of little.
Yeah, the other one, the baklava.
Boxes of them.
Oh yeah, totally. So yeah, it's different, and I'm talking here 1978. That was when I was 8 years old. Yeah. So that was a long time ago, and you can sell it for like 1 penny or something. So I'll go for 3-4 hours around the camp, and I'll come back with like 50p or 55p and give it to my mom, and I save it with mom, because in the end of the month or something, I'll try to have maybe £1 or £2 where I can go and buy something that I want to buy. So,
and then what were all your brothers and sisters do? I mean, where do you sit in the line of all the brothers? I know you got an older brother.
I'm the second, yeah.
Oh, so you're the second. So you got an older brother. You're the second oldest, and then you had another eight younger siblings. And
my old brother always in traditional. The old brother will stay with my mom and dad, so he's married, and I think I remember. Yeah, I think when you were there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I met him.
So the 2 kids, and he lived with my mom and dad, and the rest of my brothers are all over. So some of them in Wales, one in London, one in Sweden, or 2 in Sweden, and Norway, and so we all over the place. But it's nice. It's in Europe, so I always go and visit my sister in Sweden and my brother, and they're all working and have families. So my mom and dad, all my brother, my sister, our kids, we about 42 people in one single family. So,
big family get-togethers must be quite tricky.
Totally. Yeah.
Do you ever get together en masse?
All of us? No.
It must
be
quite hard.
In the past, I don't know. Since I was maybe 18, no. Yeah. Not all of us.
And do your siblings also have that sense of sort of, I mean it's in a positive way, but sort of divided allegiance to Jordan and also the countries that they're in now? I mean, are they as passionate about their adopted country, so to speak, as you are?
I cannot say that. Like, maybe I think it's all the belonging going back to Jordan, but I don't know. I think with my journey, maybe a little bit different, but I mean, they're happy where they are, and they will always appreciate where what they do, their work and their family. And, and I think one of them went back and to live in Jordan, and the rest stayed where they are. Yeah. But yeah, I would say maybe they're happy where they are at the moment.
And what do they make of you gallivanting around the world, climbing mountains? I mean, it's probably a little bit like me with my parents. I mean, my parents are passed away now, but certainly when I started my own journey, I think they were reluctantly supportive. And then as it became pretty established that I wasn't going to change tack and become an accountant or a bank manager or whatever it may be, and I was actually invested in mountains, it was, well, okay, we'll take more note and we'll support him perhaps a little bit more and show some interest. Was it similar with you and your family? Was it a case to start with, well, hey, here's Mostafa's got a fantastic job in Scotland, and then all of a sudden you're off in Switzerland and then Nepal and various other places climbing mountains?
Totally. I think I think they definitely said that. Like, you did all this education, you worked so hard, this is what you wanted, what are you doing? Get married, have kids, stop being stupid, all that stuff. And then I think little by little, when the achievements start coming up, and I think they were very, very happy. And I always remember calling my mom and dad from the top of Everest.
No, I did that. It's amazing.
It's amazing. I mean, I think my dad was understand the whole thing, and he was really excited. And I remember, because I talked to His Majesty first. Well, I think it was 3:50 in the morning in Jordan. And I'm sitting there with Lakpa thinking it's like 10 to 4. Like, would I call the office? And they told me to call the office anytime you're in the top. So when I called the office, and I said, my name is Mostafa Salameh, I'm in the top of Everest, I want to speak to His Majesty. And this guy in the other phone going, who is this mental? And he put the phone down. So I have to keep calling the king brother until he answered the phone. And the first things he said, I hope you're in the top calling this time. I said, yes, Your Majesty. But when I spoke to my dad, my dad was really happy. Be careful when you come down. And he gave the phone to my mom. And my mom said, what's the time there? I said, it's 7 o'clock. I'm in the top of the world, Mom. And she said, did you have anything to eat yet? I said, yes, I had a chocolate.
It's so
cold. I said, no, I'm not cold. Okay, Mom, I have to go. I'll explain to you when I come down.
It's so similar. Only mothers can do that.
Honestly.
I had a very similar chat back in 2004 when I first with my mother, and she was more concerned about my general well-being. Have you eaten? Are you warm enough? How's your cough? Because as you know, we all get coughs out in the Khumbu. Yes. Whereas Dad was actually genuinely excited. But it's pretty cool to be able to call the king from the top. That's definitely a tick in the box that I don't have.
Well, you can call the Queen next time.
Well, yeah, I'm not too sure how well that would go down. I'm not entirely sure I'll be able to get through to her. I couldn't find much information about this, Mostafa. And I didn't know that you were setting out to do it, and I was curious whether it was inspired a little bit by our mutual friend to a certain extent, Ran Fines. But I know in 2017 there was talk about you doing the sort of 777 challenge, which is 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days.
Yeah.
Did that come from Ran? That's the first question.
It definitely come from Ran,
because he did it 2000 and...
I think he did it in 2005,
4?
Yeah. 4.
Just after his heart attack. Yeah. And he found it incredibly difficult logistically. How did it pan out for you?
Well, now there is this company who, you pay a little bit more extra money, and they have this Icelandic airline, the only airline that will land in Antarctica now. So, which I flew with them in 2016 when I did the South Pole. And so that plane with another, I think, 45 people, it will stay with you. So you finish your first marathon in Antarctica, you start in Antarctica, and you start flying in the same. So it will wait for you until you finish the marathon, you get in a flight and you go. Oh, wow. So I remember with Ryan, it was different. You have to organize everything with British Airways. It wasn't that easy. Now you can pay a little bit more money. There is more people want to do it. Uh-huh. And I'm doing it for cancer as well, so I've been very excited to do it. We were supposed to go in December this year, but because of everything that happened, we'll have to delay it until next year. And I've been doing my training and what I can do, and I think for something like this, I mean, you don't need to, it's not a competition. You don't need to finish in 3 hours. You have until 6 hours.
Okay.
to finish it, which is going to be great. And I think my biggest motivation is to go and do it for cancer, because the whole thing is called 777 for cancer.
Yeah. And so I've got to ask a question. If you don't finish within 6 hours, does essentially the plane leave you? Does it sort of fly off and you're left in Antarctica, for instance? Oh!
I don't think the plane will leave you, but I mean, that's what it gives you. I'm sure you can do 45 kilometer in 6 hours. I mean, unless you have an injury and then you're going to go. I mean, normally you aim for 4 hours, and I think the first, second, third one is going to get easy, and then it's going to become more difficult. And I think, from what Ryan said in his book and stuff, I think it get more difficult, and then I think it's all, it's all in your head. And if you know how, you don't want to get injured. That's the most important things. If you don't get injured, and you can do it, and you can do it in your own pace, and you don't have to go too fast.
Yeah, and I suppose the other really big thing is recovery, because obviously you got to travel between the continents,
Totally.
and it's the recovery and how you go about doing that recovery. I mean, I suppose if there's 45 of you, plus there's going to be support staff on the plane. I mean, I have no idea how big the plane is, but getting rest, getting lying down, icing the legs, massages.
Yeah,
that's going to be.
I mean, it does. It does give a very big organization to do it, and and I guess getting the sponsorship and paying. The amount you're going to pay. I mean, you can go and do it cheaper, but you're not going to do it in 7 days, because you never know what's going to happen with the flights and stuff. So, you can do it in many ways.
Wow. I mean, I'm surprised there's that many people doing it. 45 people. That's quite.
Well, that's what they try to.
Yeah. And so where do you do it in Antarctica?
Say that again.
Whereabouts in Antarctica are you flying into?
It's when it's the norm when you fly normally to what do you call it with ALEs?
Oh, okay, yeah, onto Union Glacier.
Yes, so this is where you're going. So they have a track.
They got a track there, yeah.
They got a track, so you don't have to go farther anyway. Yeah. So you just need to go around in the track. But so I've been to that base twice now. When I did Vincent Massive in 2005, in January 2005, and when I went back and did skied the South Pole in via Messenger route. So which maybe was the most difficult things I think I did, compare to anything else. I mean, Everest is great because you have people, you have support, you have Sherpa, you have porters. There you have to carry everything and sledge everything behind you. But I think it was one of the most amazing trip that I embark and to be able to ski in that much time, because people always say you never skied before, and I think you could learn so much by, if you put it in your head and you want to do it, you could learn. And I came back 17 kilo minus. I lost so much weight.
17 kilos. Well, on the South Pole trip.
Yes, and I remember that the king received me straight away, and I was really skinny, and and he said, "Do you need a hospital?"
No.
I'm fine. So he was very kind. So
I hate to think what your mother said then. If she thought I was skinny, she must have. She probably just sat you down and force fed you.
It was so much food. Yeah, it was so much food. So I came back and I stayed in Jordan straight 2 weeks, and then I came to Dublin, and me and the kids we went to south of France.
But the South Pole trip, you were on the ice nearly 60 days, weren't you? I think.
The whole journey was 56 days. Yeah, it was a long journey because there were some waiting as well. But it was a long time to be in Antarctica, and I think.
And you were I think I'm right in saying, I might get my numbers wrong here, I think I'm right in saying you were the 15th person to complete the Explorers Grand Slam, and to date, because I looked only this morning, I think there's only 21 people have done what's the Explorers Grand Slam, because it gets a little bit complicated, doesn't it? And it always does with polar stuff. It's the polar stuff that confuses it.
Yes.
There's different methods because more people have done the last degree trips,
yes.
which also technically comes under the Explorers Grand Slam, but it's a little. You did a slightly harder one, or considerably harder, actually.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think when you do the last degree is 10 days, and you know, I think is the amount of time that you're going to spend there, and sledge is not going to be the same when you do the last degree. So, but you know, they both an achievement, of course.
Oh no, absolutely. Because I think there's only 50 or 60 people who've done the last degree version.
Totally.
So it's not as if a lot of people have done it.
No.
And just tell me where the inspiration for that came from. So you've done the 7 summits, which is highest point on the 7 continents. I think many of the viewers, listeners probably heard about that. The Explorers Grand Slam was first sort of achieved, for want of a better word, by David Hambleton Adams, who lives quite local to here, actually. He lives just down the road, just the other side of Swindon. So he was the first person to do it.
Yeah.
So it's the 7 summits plus North Pole, South Pole. Where did your own inspiration for that come from?
I think really it came from when the king asked me if I'm going to do any polar adventure, and I said,
did he?
I don't know. So
I suppose you can't really say no to a king, can you?
No, not at all. And I think when in 2008, when I came back from Everest, and I couldn't go back to hospitality, and I didn't know what to do, so I requested if I go back to universities in Edinburgh University, and to do a master degree in outdoor education studies, because I thought maybe this is something that where my passion will lay, and it's about outdoor education academically. I would know more about it, so I could bring it back to the Middle East, and that's where I start knowing more. And when I read the first book, which is about Antarctica, Scott's journey. And this is, I think, something that really drew me into Antarctica. And I know it's tough, and I need to learn how to ski. I need a little bit more muscle. I don't like to go in the gym and do muscle stuff. I love running, cycling, and swimming. And I had to go back to the gym and, to have more weight of muscle than anything else. And I managed to do it by training for a whole year. And then that was great. And then this is when the idea came with the Greenland. And I thought, okay, I'll go to Greenland, and I cross Greenland from north to south. And
so that's a long way.
That was a long way, but it was just an amazing journey as well. It wasn't there is lots of open water, so you have to go up in the glacier. You have to get yourself ready to ski down. You need to bring your sledge down as well in the road to go in there and not to break anything. So, but I think the highlight of it is meeting the Inuit people. I think that was like it was just the most amazing thing to go to this village and see how these people live. So, I think, with this journey, I think with mountaineering, it's been great. I don't aim for anything apart from, I don't know, of course, I'm sure Lac Pachirin, the guy who paraglided from the top of it. Yeah, so I work with him a lot. We climb a lot. I brought him into Kilimanjaro and Elbrus and all other mountain that I go with my client and stuff. And the idea was to paraglide from Amadablam on October last year, and it was too busy. So we thought, okay, we're gonna do it this year. So after we do a trip to Himling at 7,200 meters, we will try to go up. And I did lots of paragliding with him just to have the experience. So this is something that I would love to do with him.
Is that a tandem, or is that
a tandem?
A tandem, yeah. Because it was Lac that did the tandem.
And Bapa.
They lifted off from the top of Everest and they landed, I want to say down near Nam. It was quite a long way they went, wasn't it?
They did, and they were arrested for about 2 hours.
Oh, were they? I didn't know they were. Tell me the story about being arrested.
They weren't allowed.
Who arrested them? Well, obviously the police, but
Nepalese government, because they were in lab, but they left him. It was an amazing achievement. I mean, for him in his head, he always wanted to have this. I remember for a long time, he wanted to have this with people who climb Everest rather than come down, because accident always happen. Why not just paraglide and go down? And
because it's only been done a few times. I think the first guy to do it was Jean-Marc Bovin in the 80s, I think it was. And then I think that might have only been the second.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's only the two, because I know one or two people have taken paragliders up there, but it's really hard to get permission. I think most people do it
very difficult,
a bit incognito. But of course, the weather conditions have to be absolutely perfect, because you're in a low density environment, so the wing doesn't have anywhere near as much lift as it would have near ground level or sea level. So very, very difficult. So the plan is on Amadablam this or October, November.
Hopefully after we finish Hemling, and then we do that. But I always leave it for him. He's the one who knows. He always look at everything and he said, I don't think the God will really like it. So we leave it.
Yeah, the Nepalese, you mentioned earlier about the affinity you have with the Nepalese people. They put so much faith in what the Lama says and auspicious days. And I'm not a particularly religious person. You probably know that. However, I have a lot of respect for my Sherpa friends and what's important to them. And it's surprising how often those auspicious days turn out to be right. It's important to listen to different cultures and ways of looking at things. It's not all as clear cut.
I think it's more respect, because you don't want to go against what they believe, because it's for them it's a goddess of the mountain, so it's definitely a spiritual things for them. So we have to really listen and do everything that we do, the puja before we go up and everything that we do. And I think it's a very exciting things to do anyway. I think I really enjoy it every time we go there, and we have to go to the monastery in Namche or in Dombu and do a prayer, and I think it's a lovely things to do.
So you mentioned I didn't know you were on Amadablam last year. So for listeners, viewers who don't know Amadablam, it's a picture over your left shoulder. That's Amadablam, the Matterhorn of the Himalayas. Once deemed, I think Hillary said it was impossible to climb. And then it was Bishop, the American climber Bishop, so Brent Bishop's father, and I forget who his climbing partner was, who finally climbed it. And it actually really annoyed Hillary, because it was all kind of part of a expedition with Hillary. Anyway, I won't go into details.
But it's nice that you see it from everywhere, isn't it?
Whenever you go up to Khumbu, it dominates the scene going up the Khumbu. For sure, beautiful mountain. So if you were there last year,
No, I wasn't. We were supposed to go last year, but it was too busy, and there was some stuff about some people taking the biggest flag. And
I was going to ask you about, because it was the Kuwaiti flag. I think it was a Kuwaiti national took a huge flag and laid it out on the summit. And to his credit, it all came back down again. There was no trace left behind.
No trace, nothing. But
I was curious to ask you what your kind of thoughts on that were.
I think that's why we didn't go up. I think Lakba and myself felt that we didn't feel safe to go up, to be honest. And I think it was something that maybe the Sherpa didn't like, mostly just to see that massive flag, because they thought it was a little bit dangerous in other people who were climbing. But of course, everyone into their own thing. And that's why we decide, after I finished my expedition, I had some client, and then we decide we're not, Lakba said, I'm not going to go, mainly because of that. So we came.
Yeah, but I mean, I've got to say, to the climber and the team around him, I mean, they did pull all nothing was left there.
Which is good, definitely.
It just unfolded, and it was an enormous flag. It was absolutely.
It was a big flag. You can see it. People saw it from
Yeah, miles away.
Yeah, miles away. So yeah.
Absolutely enormous. So, I mean, we got to wrap these things up. You've been very generous and kind with your time as ever. It's been a delight talking to you. So, in the near future, you're off to Nepal in October. Hopefully, I might see you there. I'm hoping to go as well.
Yeah.
You know, as long as travel
Going to be in Mira? Are you going to be in Mira, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'm going to go into I think the plan is we're going to go into the Hinku first and then either go back to Kathmandu and then come back in for Ahmedabad, or we're going to hop over the Mingba La.
Might see you in Yakanyati.
So yeah, we'll hopefully hook up there. And then next year, I know things are really up in the air and nobody really knows what, I mean, everybody calls it the new normal. But really, I think our industry, to a certain extent, the adventure travel industry, has been hit as hard as almost anybody.
Very hard.
And we've really no idea. But in an ideal world, what future plans have you got looking into next year?
we have some experience, like we have stuff in January to Kilimanjaro for a fundraising event for CNN. Crew who want to take these Syrian refugee up. We have something in April and May. That's why these client who's coming with me, Khadija, to become the first Emirati woman. We have another guy called Ala to become the first Palestinian from Palestine, inside Palestine.
Yeah.
We have a guy from Iraq to become the first Iraqi. And then I have an Italian guy who's going to film the expedition. So that's going to be in April and May. If everything went through, then we're definitely going to be in that. And then July, we go back normally to Kilimanjaro to do schools. We have expedition for a school that we fundraise money for cancer as well.
Okay.
We have another expedition to fundraise money for children of war that based in Lebanon and United States. So yeah, it would be that, and then hopefully December everything go to well. Then I would go and start my 777 for cancer.
Wow,
that's the plan at the moment, and you know we do talks here and there, especially in the Middle East. I do lots of talks for school and universities.
So if let's say a 7-year-old boy in a refugee camp, you know, the young Mostafa, age 7 or 8, selling sweets for a penny a time for 2 or 3 hours after school, could see a grown-up Mostafa. You turned 50 this year, didn't you?
Yes.
So if a younger Mostafa could see the old Mostafa now, what do you think the young Mostafa would think?
And I guess he'll be very proud and maybe a little bit shocked. But I think every single refugee that I look at, and every single time I go to any refugee camps in Europe or in the Middle East or anywhere, is I try to tell them that, you know, if I did it, anybody of you can do it and achieve your dream. And I think, you know, becoming a refugee is not that you have the choice to do it. You are forced to do it. So you have to turn it to do something good in your life, rather than play the victim on everything and say, you know, my life is this and that, and blame it in everything that happened around you. So I would say to them to follow their dream, because there is nothing impossible. And I always tell them, here's my story, and I'm not making up this story, or I've read it from anywhere. This is just a life example of somebody who came from this place and were able to make it, because I believed on it 100% in my heart. And I always believe, if you believe something in your heart, everyone around you will believe in you. And just follow your dream and follow your heart, mostly, more than anything else. I don't really follow my mind too much. That's why I F a lot, but my heart definitely is what lead me to where I am now.
You finished the show beautifully. Mostafa, it's been an utter pleasure to spend the last hour and a bit with you. I'm proud to call you a friend.
Me too.
And I really hope that our paths cross in October in Nepal. Mostafa, from myself and from all the viewers and listeners, thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you very much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mostafa. I really hope you enjoyed that. Quite powerful, very profound. Shows you the power of the heart. Now, Mostafa, like many of us, especially me, he's active on social media. Look him up on social media. Give him a tick, give him a follow, donate if you can. He's doing some remarkable stuff with charities that now more than ever need some help and support. He is a true trooper of people out there in the Middle East, well, and all over for that matter. That was Cool Conversations this week. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget, let us know what you thought of the show. Let us know what we can do to make it better for you guys. So hit me up on social media at Kenton Cool. I'm pretty easy to find. But until next week, go out there, have fun in the big wide world, and we see you same time, same place next week. Thank you.